All right, so we are about to start the live stream. Couple minutes, and I'm gonna start getting into what we're going to be doing today. But if I could get any, just to really make sure, if I could get some feedback on the primarily the audio. Here we got a little bar right here. Oh, that's not too bad. We'll just leave it for now. I'll talk to some of you guys. Which keyboard do you use? This is a Ducky keyboard right here. It's trying to do this without hitting my mic. It's a Ducky mechanical keyboard. Very nice. I wish I would have got the full size one with the number pad, but I did not. Thank you for the audio feedback, everybody. What we're going to be doing today in this live stream is what I would have been doing today if I were to have not been live streaming. I recorded the introduction piece for this video that I'm going to be working on. And it's the MX Linux video going over MX21 beta. The introduction of the video, like I said, I already recorded. It's just a A-roll of me talking to the camera, going over some of the main highlights of the new features in the beta. So already recorded that, so we're actually going to start off by jumping into the video editor and kind of roughly putting together the introduction segment. And then once I kind of have that put together, we'll go ahead and record the me going through the actual distribution. So that will be kind of weird because I'm going to be recording and you guys are going to get to see any little mistakes or anything I make during the recording process. But like I said, before we do that, what we're going to do is go ahead and run through the process of everything that I do when I make a video. So the only things I've done so far, like I said, I did record. I haven't even taken the card out of my camera yet to see if it's actually a good shot and all that, but it should be. And I recorded the audio separately in Audacity. Still waiting for Audacity to get forked because, as Dominique kinda hinted at, it's not the best when it comes to privacy as of late. So once a good fork for Audacity comes out, I will be switching to that. Why don't you use DaVinci Resolve? I've been meaning to start using it, but I have not had the time to learn new software at the moment. I used it briefly, but I'm just not used to the node style for effects and things like that. But we're gonna try. So are you recording then, editing the video live? Yes, I'm gonna record live, so I'll take the chat off the screen and all that jazz, and then I will edit what I just recorded. So we're gonna do, other than the intro that I've already recorded, we're gonna do just about everything. So let's jump over here. This is what's going on my desktop. So far I just downloaded the ISO, but what we're gonna need to do is go ahead and move over the video file. So I have this, should be plugged in here. Should be popping up, there we go. SD card, Canon. And this is the video I recorded last night on the Pixel. It's definitely not a popular video, but it's not what I usually do when it comes to the content on the YouTube channel. And this is the footage that I just recorded. So I'm just going to do Control X, go over to videos, and here you can kind of see how I lay out my projects. I have Farron OS right here, which that's supposed to be an E. It's Farron, not Farron. Farron OS, GNOME extensions, Ging Android. All the videos I've recently done as of being on Fedora are right here. RBS asks, do you like Gentoo? I can't say if I do or do not because I am personally not going to spend the time that it takes to actually install the thing. But that's just me. Making sure my kilobits are good. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and paste this in here into the MX Linux project. You can see I already have my intro audio that I recorded in Audacity. Nice to meet you. Found your channel long ago. I like it. chill and knowledgeable. Thank you. You are not late. You are actually very early. You're actually to the point where you got to miss out on me not doing anything, because I'm just now getting all my project files together. And this is about done. So let's go ahead and pop this open. And it looks like it's a fairly decent shot. It's a little on the darker side, but we can do some light color correction. So let's go ahead and open up Kdenlive. This guy, you ask, I really don't get why MX Linux is so popular, and I do discuss that in this little segment that I'm about to be editing. Ultimately, the answer to your question is it is not actually that popular. It's just gotten lucky enough that it's #1 on DistroWatch, and because it's #1 on DistroWatch, people click on it because it's like, what is this? #1 distribution. And the more clicks something gets on DistroWatch, the more hits it gets, and it just basically keeps it artificially bumped up. In this, and we're going to go ahead and pull some graphics and stuff, I talk about how Ubuntu is the most popular Linux distribution. According to Google Trends, according to the at least gaming Steam statistics, Ubuntu takes up, well, on Steam for sure, Ubuntu takes up about 1/4 of the market share. So MX Linux actually, it's popular. It's a lot more popular than a lot of other distributions, but it's not the most widely used distribution for sure. And saying that, I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad distribution. It is a wonderful Linux distribution, but the DistroWatch thing is kind of artificial when it comes to the ranking system. So, sorry, I might have pauses and stuff as I read. I'm going to be kind of covering up the chat a little bit so I could get some video editing work done here. So for video editing, this is Kdenlive. This is what I'm currently using. Let's get it on a different shot other than that, or that one. This is a 10-minute, it's an intro, but this 10-minute intro is actually probably going to end up being 6 or 7 minutes. So this right here is the camera audio. This is the intro audio that I recorded in Audacity. So what we're going to do, right click, set audio reference, and that took no time at all. That's one thing I noticed about being in Fedora is I don't like GNOME personally. That's the only reason why I'm not having too much of a good time. But with that said, the performance of Fedora is absolutely beautiful, and I I do love their package manager. So now that I synced up the audio, we can check. It looks like it's on point, but hello everybody. I just make sure there's not too much of an echo. And I do that in the beginning and the end to make sure there's no clipping or anything that offset it at all. And that is what we're going to do right now. We're going to very slight echo, but not enough that the lips are going to be out of sync. So let's right click, ungroup the selected clip. There we go. Zoom way in, drag that up, and then group these clips. And now our audio is going to be silky smooth. You might not be able to hear it because of the background music. Linux distribution is because of those DistroWatch rankings. And that's me talking about what I was just talking about, which is those the artificial #1 rankness. In theory, it could be #1 on DistroWatch forever. Yes. The MX tool, we are going to be covering that later in the stream. Can you do a video on how bad hibernation is via NVIDIA? Unfortunately, I can't do neither NVIDIA nor Intel videos because at the moment my processor and GPU are both AMD. So with that said, let's continue editing. This is probably the most boring part of the editing process, which is me. You could see one thing I'm not very good at, and that's why even during this live stream I'm gonna like pause randomly, is I'm not good at holding sentences and keep going and going and going. It's just not how my brain works. So you can see all these pauses that I have. I have to think about what I'm gonna say next. But let's go ahead and go through this. Everybody, this is Tech Cut. In this video, what I'm going to be doing is talking about the new Linux snap. And that's another thing I do too. If I mess up, I snap, so I know. Usually the audio levels are higher. Do I snap here? Okay, so this is the start right here. So we're just going to cut that, get rid of this, right click, remove space, and that is the start of this video. So let's run through this. This is Tech Cut. In this video, what we're going to be doing is taking a look at the newly released MX Linux 21 beta. This is the very first beta release for the 21 version that is going to be based off of. And I look over at my little notepad because I was sure it was Bullseye, but I wanted to make sure. And that is so you can see those pauses and cuts I do. So boom, get rid of that. And I kind of freeze a little bit. So when I do those cuts, it's not like me jumping all over the place. So you don't notice them as much. But if you do pay attention to my videos, I do a lot of cuts like that throughout them. And that is one of see, I stay still enough, it's hard to notice, but you can still definitely notice them there. Good news, Endeavor OS is climbing up the distro watch chart. I did notice that. Last time I checked, it was like, not last time, but previously it was really riding in between like 10 and 12, around that range. But recently it's been up in the top 5, I think. And that's personally my favorite Linux distribution is Endeavor, just because it's so close to Arch, and I like the PAMAC package manager. It's not in there by default, but I've never had an issue installing it on Endeavor, while I've had issues trying to get PAMAC to work fluidly in other Arch-based Linux distributions. How are you enjoying MX Linux so far? I can't really say because I haven't been enjoying MX Linux. Unfortunately, I'm enjoying Fedora, but we're going to be jumping into MX soon to do the general overview of the distribution. I've used it before when recording videos. It's one of the ones I recommend. Dang it, this thing resized itself. Where's my, oh, there it is. Whoop. So we're going to check that out later. So let's get into cutting, or else I'm going to be doing this forever. Distribution, they completely skip that step and go straight basing off of Debian, so that makes it awesome. And the one dilemma I have when I'm recording is I always look away at the screen right once I finish a sentence. So that's the awesome. So that's when you can kind of notice those cuts. Then we're going to talk about why, for some reason, it's ranked #1 on DistroWatch, and then we're going to dive into the system and do just a general overview of what's going on. So first, what is new in Linux Mint? See, I said Linux Mint and I had to restart. Because like Linux Mint, MX Linux, there's so many different Linux distributions that have Linux. So first, what is new in Linux Mint? Not Mint. So first, what is new in MX Linux 21? So first, what is new in this first beta release? So first, see how many times I had to do that? I think this is it right here. It's when I finally get it together. Let's see. So first, nope, not there. So cut that out so I know where I'm at, and I think we're good right here. The new. Okay, yeah, so we'll go back and find it the first time I said up first. And then we're going to dive into the system and do just a general overview of what's going on. So first. So right here. So look at that. How much I just cut out. I cut out from about 37 to about 120 in mistakes. So that's what I was saying when I first drug in this 10-minute clip. This is actually going to be about 5 minutes worth of actual footage. Hey there, Tekka. How's it going so far? Okay, good. Just came in. I wish Arch update worked where I'm from. Internet is terrible. Yeah, that's the one thing that's bad about Arch, is about rolling release in general, is if you have bad internet, it's not as fun, especially if you have bandwidth limits. it's not as fun. Do you use Fedora with Xorg or Wayland? At the moment, it's Xorg. I used it on Wayland for about a week, but I kept having issues with OBS Studio, so I'm currently using Xorg at the moment. So, with that said, let's continue editing. Review of what's going on. So first, what is new in this beta release of MX Linux 21? Now, other than some basic application additions and updates, a major focus of this beta is actually going to be on... See me, look, I froze. Oh, you can't really see, I have the window kind of cut. But I like freeze when I'm thinking about it, so the jump cuts aren't as bad. Here, I'll move it so you guys can kind of see me. See how I do this. It's nothing to be proud of. See, I just completely freeze. I'm really thinking about the new UEFI live boot menu. Okay, so right there, and right there. So now you can select I'm telling you, the fact, like, this is why I didn't live stream for a very long time, is because this is how I have to end up editing my videos. I freeze and pause so much. The new UEFI live boot menus. So now you can select all your live boot options from the boot menus instead of having to use the system console menus. There we go. So get rid of that, get rid of that. It's going to be really curious to see how much of this 10 minutes of a video is actually usable. They have added LVM support. Additionally, when you install it, they've added LVM support in the partition selection area. So right about there. System console menus. Additionally, when you install it, they've added Sweet deal. LVM support in the partition selection area. But at the moment, this really only works if a LVM partition already exists. I'm assuming that they're going to... So we're about we're a little under halfway done with this part. Which, like I said when I started, I'm starting with the most boring stuff, and then we'll get into the MX Linux first impression type deal. And doing this is a good first step, but that last thing is just me kind of speculating. LVM support in MX Linux is going to be a thing coming up, and that's what I was just talking about in this little clip I'm editing here. So your user password is going to be required whenever you do any administrative tasks, and they actually added an option. What I'm really excited for is taking a look at the MX Tweak tool. Why don't you have a dual monitor setup? I do have a dual monitor setup. Here, I'll show you guys real quick. I'll switch over to the Logi webcam, and hopefully I don't pull this wire too hard. You can see I have a ultra wide monitor, and I have a 32-inch monitor here. And the ultra wide is a vertical monitor, which is very, very nice because I use it to have like my Steam window, my OBS window, and I have my live streaming stuff and Discord over on that vertical monitor, so that's really nice. So back to editing. Alright, let's do some dragging. Zoom out real quick so we can see where we're at. So we've already cut this down to about 7 minutes, and we still have a ways to go. Yeah, it's a good setup. I'm not gonna lie. I'm very happy with it. I want one more, like, it'd be cool to have a really small monitor that I could put, like, right above this webcam so chat could be right there. So when I'm reading chat, I'm actually kind of looking at the camera. But, yeah. And for the ultra wide, I had to get, like, this custom arm. It's a pretty big, heavy-duty arm because it's so tall. Do I have a ruler? No, I don't. But it's a pretty good size monitor. I think it's a 29-inch 1080p ultra wide. But so back to editing. And do our general overview of the system. And finally, so in this video, what I'm going to end up doing is and I did this with the Zorn video as well, is I do the new features recording. And finally, there's And then I'll do my general overview walkthrough, and then I'll pull clips from that general overview and kind of quickly show them during me going over what's new. And usually that makes for a pretty good video, because my average viewer like retention is like the first 3 minutes is what people watch. So I try to pack as much stuff into those first 3 minutes that I can, just so you all get all the information you want or need. As well as the default panel plugins that they went ahead. So that's an example of that pause right there. Default panel plugins that they went ahead. I could probably cut that down even a little more. This is a real rough cut. I'm gonna later on, when I'm not live streaming, I'll go through this and be really meticulous, kind of like what I'm doing right here, to cut this down just a little bit more so it's a smoother cut. The default panel plug. And you do notice the cut there, but it's not too bad. So we'll play. That they went ahead and chose to use, as well as the default panel plugins that they went ahead and decided to use with this release. And right there, gonna cut that out all the way. As well as the default panel plugins. And actually, I have to cut right here. So X. There we go. So you can see, I live streamed for 34 minutes so far, and I've probably been editing for about half of it. And with that, I've gotten 2 minutes of usable video out of the 15 minutes of editing. So when you see me upload like a 5-minute video, that's usually about an hour of editing, versus if you see me do like a 20-minute video, like the that GIMP video I uploaded, that was an all-day project. The default panel plugins that they went ahead and editing is an art in itself. That is very true. Noticed if you follow MX Linux at all, is there was no version 20, and you may be so right here I'm talking about MX Linux being version 21. If you look at their website, the latest version was 19, and they do that because they go off of the year release schedule. So the actual version number will be the year of the release, and that's primarily because they're working off of Debian, and Debian only has a major release. They rarely do major releases, and just like with MX Linux, the last major release of Debian was in, I think, mid 2019, and so there's a 2-year gap in between Debian releases, and that's why there's no version 20 of MX Linux, because there was no major release of Debian within the year 2020. So boom, 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 bam. And let's see if this is smooth. That they're going off of these major Debian releases. If Debian doesn't have a release, if Debian doesn't. No, see, I didn't even need that at all. Off of these major Debian releases, if Debian doesn't have a major release, neither. And what I just said is what's going on in this video. I'm just kind of reiterating what I'm saying, so you guys can get the information early, because you're in the live stream. Linux, and that is why we have that version. And that takes us to, why is MX Linux so popular? Why is MX Linux so popular? The answer is it's not. It's not? I mean, it's definitely like it's one of the it's up there, but it's not the most like used. But it's not nearly to the level that something like Ubuntu, Fedora. I always say Ubuntu when it's Ubuntu. And don't worry, people will point that out. They will not hesitate. Linux distribution is because of those distro watch rankings. Let's see. And the distro watch rankings really are not that accurate. They go off of hits, so how many people view the specific page about that Linux distribution. And if something's number 1 and you've never heard of it, of course you're going to click it and check it out. And I believe a lot of that is what drives it up and keeps it at the top. And another reason why we don't. Ooh, that's a clean cut. We like that. On actual distribution usage when it comes to the overall. Anyone notice the Linux shirt? I got this for my birthday. It's a nice little like vintage style Linux shirt. Oh, paused it. They don't want to share that data with the developers, with any other companies or anything like that. And one of the reasons why I say right now is why we don't really know other than it's probably Ubuntu. Why we don't know the actual order of popularity for Linux distributions is being that it's Linux, you have the options to just simply not share that data with the developers or with any other third party. So that's why, like, if you see the websites that have, or the statistics that say like 1% Linux, 6% other, that other is, a lot of that's probably Linux. Do I talk here? No, I don't. I'm typing. Okay. Linux distributions. Now, there's a couple better sources if you wanted to get a better idea of what Linux distributions actually rank the highest. And right now I'm talking about the sources, and we're actually going to go ahead and pull some of these pictures real quick. CentOS, Debian, Debian, and so on. Okay, so what I'm talking about right here is, let's go ahead and open up a web browser. Let's minimize this actually, let's save this. Before we do anything, let's save this. So right here, we're doing this in the MX, and I'll just call this MX for now. Save it, minimize it, and now let's go ahead and open up, I just use Google Chrome on stream because it's not logged into anything. But what we want is Linux distros Google Trends, because I'm going to throw a graphic of this in the video. Let's see right here. Yeah, that's not it. Let's see, best distro Linux distributions ranked by Google Trends, May 2021. That's a fairly recent source. Yeah, this is what I'm looking for right here. Do they have, oh, they don't have credit, so I'll need to make sure to credit this, but we'll go ahead and save this image. Videos, MX Linux, and then we'll just call this, oh, we're searching. This is what I do not like GNOME. Google Trends. And if you all are interested, I'll go ahead and open this up real quick, or make this a little bit bigger. So, according to Google Trends, the most popular Linux distribution is Ubuntu. And you can see the distro watch rankings on the side here. CentOS, Debian, and etc. We have Mint. If you look down, let's see where, if I can find my Endeavor OS. There it is, number 30. That's the one I prefer, and that makes sense. Pop OS is 14. But then again, this isn't actual like usage. This is just Google Trends. Hello, Tech Hut. How do you think is being a full-time gaming streamer possible on Linux? It's definitely possible. And more is so simple enough an ordinary user. Yeah, it's very possible. There's a lot of games that just work on Linux. I might play, let's see, that's OBS. I just downloaded a game that's in beta that supposedly works perfectly fine on Linux. And that is Splitgate right here. We might play that a little bit later. That might be fun. But I need to at least get some work done first. So we got this picture. Another thing we want is the Steam software survey. That's not how you spell that. Survey. Boom. So right here we have OS version. The most popular is Windows 10 at just about 90%. But if I go right here, we can see Linux has hit 1%. Beautiful. 1% of everybody on Steam, which is actually a lot of people. And you can see the top distros here is Ubuntu, Manjaro, Arch, Ubuntu again, and Linux Mint. If we combine the two versions of Ubuntu, Ubuntu makes up about a quarter of the usage, with Manjaro and Arch. If you combined that would actually be higher. So Arch-based systems for Steam actually have the advantage. Well, no, they don't, but it's close. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this image. So we'll have to do this through a screenshot. So let's do select area, and let's just get this whole thing here. Looks like that. And then it should pop up. There we go. So let's save this into our videos. Let's go to MX Linux. Change this to Steam ranks. There we go. And now we have that Steam rank. And this is actually some pretty cool data here. Let's go ahead and zoom in so we can take a look at this just a little bit more. Go ahead and drag this over here. So looks like about 0.25 of people are still running Windows 7. Almost 1% are using Windows 8. Windows 10, 11, Windows 10 64-bit, that 90%, which we expect. OS X, we have about 1.5% on the latest version, 2.5% in total, and then we have Linux, Ubuntu, and Linux Mint 20.1, and it looks like that has a drop. And the Ubuntu 21.04 had a slight bump, and that's probably just because people are upgrading to the new version. Oh, my chat disconnected. Dun, 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 dun. I hope it reconnects good. So, while that tries to reconnect, I'm going to close this out because I got what we needed. And we are going to go back to the video editor, which is right here. Okay. There we go. Reconnected. All right. Debian, and so on. And then the next is going to be the Steam rankings. Steam rankings, and I go and search it up. So we're going to cut that right there. And this is where I talk about those Steam rankings. For their hardware and software. So we're going to pop this open real quick. And it should be in the project already, which is right here and here. So pop those in. 12% pure Arch Linux at just above 10%. That's kind of surprising to me because this is at like 1% using quite a few people just using Arch. Boom, boom. I might not hit that. It's going to be a close one, guys, to get that. I predicted that my 10-minute clip is going to be about 5 minutes of usable footage, so we're cutting it close. Ubuntu at almost 7%, so that takes the total Ubuntu usage to over 1/4 of all Linux users on Steam. Yeah, 1/4 of all Linux users, so roughly 0.25% of all users on Steam are running a version of Ubuntu, which is pretty cool in my opinion, because Ubuntu's not too bad. It's just you might as well use something better. So is MX Linux the most popular Linux distribution? No, it is not, but that doesn't mean it isn't a wonderful Linux distribution, and that is what we're going to do right now. We're going to go ahead and jump onto the system, check out some of the new updates that we talked about, as well as just go with a general overview of the system. Boom. And what was that? 5 minutes and 6 seconds. So close. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. 10 minutes of footage, and I got 5 minutes out of it. So this is the introduction to our MX Linux video. So now what I think we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and load it up in a virtual machine. So then I can record live what we're going to end up putting into this Kdenlive project. So let's go ahead and save that and try to do this successfully. That's the hard part. A perfect 5-minute video. That's beautiful. Yeah, it's always cool when you get something perfect like that. So let's go ahead and close out of, actually, do I have VirtualBox? Please let me have VirtualBox. Of course I do. I was going to use boxes, but I like, you have a little bit more control in VirtualBox. I'm still trying to learn boxes. But look, I always spell Farron wrong. I'm sorry, Dominique. This is Complete error on my part. There we go. Tech Hut, what are your system specs? Well, we'll go ahead and check that out before I open up. Boop, boop, boop. These are my system specifications here. You can see I'm running Fedora. Kernel 5.13. I have my computer on for 6 hours, if that's actually important. Bash, I am currently running GNOME 40, but the actual system specifications, I have a AMD Ryzen 7 3700X at 3.6 gigahertz, and then I have a AMD RX, what is it? It's a 588 gigabytes, and a good amount of RAM, 32 gigs of whatever, I think it's like 3600 megahertz or something. It's the RAM speed that works best with the Ryzen CPUs. So that was my specifications. Let's go ahead and set up this MX Linux virtual machine. What are we at? We are at 48 minutes, so I'll go ahead and remember that for the timestamp. New. This is MX Linux 21 Beta 1. And we're going to go, this is a Debian-based system, so we're going to go Debian. Next, and then let's pump this up to 8 gigabytes of RAM. I generally always give systems 8 gigs. Create a new drive. Boom, dynamic. Let's crank this up to 64. That should be enough. All right, so let's just go ahead and go into settings. I usually always forget this step. Settings, processor, let's make it at least a 4-core CPU. Let's enable that, and then go into display, pump that up, enable 3D acceleration, and okay. That is usually my steps for creating a virtual machine. Oh, it was a contest submission, so you got it down to the frame. That's funny. Crammed it all in, bang, 5-minute video, perfect. Okay, let's start this up. I'm not sure how well MX Linux handles VirtualBox out of the gate, but let's go ahead and add it. It's not going to be in here, it's going to be in my downloads. And we want MX Linux, open, choose, and start. So hopefully it's like Endeavor OS and just everything. Ooh, so this is the splash screen. So I'm going to move around a little bit, and I want to record this. So the screen's going to go black for just a minute. Bear with me. You can still hear my voice. And I promise I will be back very momentarily. I'm working on creating a window capture for the virtual machine right here. Okay, so now you all can see it. Beautiful. And now what I'm going to do is go ahead and get rid of these top bars and this bottom bar. And I'm going to set it just like this for a second. Actually, let's just go ahead and do, where is it? Transform, stretch to screen. And I need to record this part because this is actually one of the new features. So start recording. And let's go ahead and move around a little bit. VirtualBox video. Oh, cool. They have a thing where you could change that. All right. Boot from hard disk. So quiet splash, non-splash video. Let's see if I can actually change that. Let's go 1920 x 1080. Enter and see what happens. Get rid of that. So MX Beta Wildflower. Absolutely beautiful. Oh, it didn't. Oh, this is nice looking. Okay. So let's see. Before we do anything, first view virtual screen. Oh, cool. It has it right out of the gate. So we got that the full HD action. So let's add a video capture device. Let's go with the Logi webcam. Hello, everybody. How are you all doing? I'm going to resize this a little bit. I got to scoot over. There we go. So, whoop. Cut this down a little bit. so you all get to see me set up my stuff live. I'm sorry you guys can't see chat right now. So about there, make sure we can still see Tux's head right here. And let's go over here. I can cover up the MX logo. That should be fine. So this is beta 21, looking beautiful. I am liking this quite a bit. Okay. So one thing I'm gonna have to do is stop the Steam audio while I'm, these beats in the background. There we go. So what I am doing now is going to record as if I'm not streaming. So I might ignore you guys for just a little bit, and I do apologize for that, but this is going to be for the video. So starting now at 2 minutes. Alright, so we are now booted into the Live MX. I already messed up, hold on. 3. Alright, so now we are booted into the live disk for MX Linux, and some of the things I'm noticing right off the bat compared to last time I used this is, one, the taskbar is off to the side. The background is absolutely beautiful, and I do love some of the plugins that they went with this new beta. On this welcome screen, we see some easy links so we could get the frequently asked questions, user manuals, wiki, tools, tweaks, and a couple other things. We're going to be getting into that in just a little bit. What we're going to focus on first is actually the installation process. So we're just going to go ahead and use this welcome screen to click the install MX Linux link, and here we have the actual installer. Now, ignore me, everybody. I'm going to go like, don't want to mess up the, there we go. So let's go right about there. Uses some released under Apache free license. Okay. So right here is the installer, and you can see that it is an independent Linux distribution based on Debian Stable. This is their terms of use, just gives you some info, gives you some general instructions and limitations. Here is where you go ahead and change your keyboard settings, but what we're going to go ahead and do is click on Next. Here is the type of installation. You can see right now I am in VirtualBox, so I'm going to go ahead and make sure that is selected. Use the entire disk, and right here we can't really see that LVM thing or the new LVM support at the moment because I don't have any LVM partitions. So for now, we're just going to have to go ahead and hit Next, but you do have the option to encrypt here if you'd like to as well. For now, I'm not going to do that. Select yes, and here we have the option for your boot method. While we're doing this, you can see that they've already began formatting and the and going through the installation process. So let's install Grub, keep everything at default, hit Next, and here we have our computer name. Generally, when I set up a Linux distribution, I like to name my computer after the distribution, just so it says like my name at distribution. So we'll go MX Linux for this, and we have the domain. Which for now I'm going to get rid of. I'm going to disable networking for now and go ahead and go Next. And we're going to go ahead and keep all this at the default. Go ahead and go Next, and here you have some of your locale and time zone settings. I am in the United States. It doesn't have a map or anything like that, but it's fairly easy to figure out. I'm going to go over to the Los Angeles time zone. No, I do not live in Los Angeles. We're going to go with the 24-hour clock, and here you have some service settings advanced. So if you want to go ahead and go in there, you can select various packages that you want to enable or disable, such as cups for printing. Certain hardware things you can enable or disable through here, but you can see that everything is selected from default, and that's probably what you would want to go with. So now we could go Next, Next, and here is our user account stuff. So we're just going to go ahead and set this up. My default login will be Brandon. It's probably going to ask me to lowercase that, so we'll go just like that. And I'm just going to do this without actually recording. Root password, we'll do the same. I keep hitting the wrong button. There we go. We won't do auto login. And then fill in your passwords. I just did the same password for both root and default. Otherwise, I'll probably forget it. I'm not going to show the password. I'm not going to auto login. And we can go ahead and hit next. And here you'll have some tips for getting help, as well as links to their website. Repairing your installation. This is going to just cycle through. It's going way too quick to actually read, so that's something they might want to change. But what we're going to go ahead and do now is wait for this to install and then boot into the live disk. All right. I've stopped recording. There we go. So that was me. It finished right once I stopped. That was me going through that installation process, and that's generally how I record those videos. So now, for example, hopefully it's there, if I go to home, and here it is, start recording, and you can see that first thing I recorded, and I'm going to overlay this over that first part of the video where I talk about this, and this is the actual video right here. Or some of it. Not this part, obviously. Okay. So right here is the installer, and you can see that audio sounds good and everything. So we are good. We are good to go. Everything's looking great thus far, and I'm gonna record just this part real quick. So 3, 2, 1. Start recording. And when the installation is complete, you will see this screen right here. You have the option to automatically reboot the system. So we're just going to hit finish, and then it's going to go ahead and do that system reboot for us. Okay. So stop recording, stream. All right. What is his distro? Currently, I'm running Fedora 34. It's part of a thing I'm doing to go ahead and use it for a month. I generally do this where I use distributions for a month. Well, not distros, operating systems. Last time it was Windows 11, and now I'm on Fedora. And what is the main distro he uses? Good question. If it were up to me and I wasn't doing this 1 month ordeal, I would be in Endeavor OS, just because it's Arch, and I love Arch, and it's close to vanilla Arch without the pain of installing it. So, yeah. What do you think of Boxes or VM? Boxes is great. I don't know how to use it enough to make it to be able to use it for recordings and stuff, but I definitely do need to use it more because it's a great system. So let's go machine, reset the machine, remove the ISO. So now we should just boot right into our MX Linux, and it was awesome because it looks like MX Linux has just good support right out of the gate for VirtualBox, which is what I spend most of my time doing. I'm gonna have to log in first, so type in the password without saying it out loud. And is it gonna automatically go into 1080 for me? Beautiful. Automatic 1080. You cannot go wrong. I'm currently using VirtualBox, not Boxes, but I actually prefer Boxes as far as the UI and setup process and all that. I just need to spend a little bit more time with it before I trust it for video recordings. So, virtual machine. Okay, so I'm going to need to readjust this. So let's right click. Let's go transform and stretch to screen. Beautiful. Okay. So now what we're going to do is run through this system. So we have the welcome. I'm just going to do a quick scan before I actually run through it. If I go like tools, for example, this is the MX tools. maintenance startup. So we're going to run through all of this stuff. You have your NVIDIA driver installer. That's nice. Format USB, repo manager. MX Linux truly is a really good Debian system. Like if you want Debian, I personally would go for MX versus like Debian with GNOME. I would highly prefer it. You have your menu editor, cleanup, boot options, scheduler, repo manager, codecs installer. Lots of good stuff here. Is the tweak? Okay, here's the tweak tool. Your current panel settings. Okay. Here's the tweak and other. This should be where we have the password for administrative tasks. That's a new feature right there. So let's close that out. I need to remember to cover that. That's kind of important. Let's see. Do you know why MX Linux is rated so highly in DistroWatch? Is it accurate? I do talk about that in this video. It's definitely not the most used. DistroWatch goes off of hits. And if something that you've like, if some random distribution appeared on #1, everybody would click on it and it would artificially drive it even higher because you use DistroWatch to learn about Linux distributions. So overall, DistroWatch really isn't that good of a ranking system. If you're looking to see what the most popular distros are, like we talked about probably like 20 minutes ago or so, the Steam survey is a good one. Google Trends is good. There's other ways to get more accurate actual usage results, but as far as the hits on DistroWatch, MX Linux has the most, primarily because people want to know what it is because it's #1. So is it accurate as far as usability, or not usability, usage? No. Is it accurate as far as people click on it the most on DistroWatch? Absolutely. Okay. So I'm going to have to ignore chat for a little bit because we are going to record this section of me actually going through the system, primarily focusing on the tools and tweaks. So let's go ahead. I'm going to look at chat one more time. Nobody said nothing, so let's jump over to the virtual machine. I got this webcam to look really good. I mean, it's got some good settings. You could edit, customize the exposure, the focus, and everything through OBS. Okay, enough rambling. We need to jump into MX Linux. Actually, before we do that, I will be right back, everybody. So, yeah. I'll be back probably like 2 minutes. Not even 2 minutes, probably like 30 seconds or so. All right, we are back, and we are going to do what I said I was about to do. My beautiful fiance is making lunch, and I was getting a status update on that. So let's go ahead and switch over to our virtual machine, and we're going to wing it. 3, 2. Alright, so this is our first boot into MX Linux. It's not too different than what we just saw in our live session, but this time what we're going to do is spend a little bit more time looking at some of the custom MX tools that they have for us. So first of all, in this little welcome screen, we have tools here. They have other things like we mentioned, popular apps, codecs, things like that. But if you go ahead and click on this link, it opens up your MX tools. And this is awesome because it basically extends or expands your settings option. Especially for somebody who's new to Linux, something like this is absolutely magnificent. So we have the live USB maker, so a USB flasher tool. You could do snapshots through here. You have a ton of system maintenance things such as cleanup, boot options. So for example, if I went to this, one thing, you do see this little pop-up dialog. I'm going to talk about that more in just a sec once we get into the tweak tool. But authenticate, and then you have your MX boot options here. And you can see my kernel parameters. I have it set to 1080p out of the gate. That's something that you could do, and that's for a VirtualBox. So just the fact they had that was awesome. And when I booted into it, because of their new boot menu options, I was actually able to set this up right out of the gate. You probably saw that as an overlay in the beginning of this video. Take a breath. And of course you have other options such as background, splash screen messages, things like that. So that's just one example of some of the things that you could go ahead and play around with this. Menu editors, under setup you have About Linux, so if you open that up, there we go. You get a little bit more information about what you're currently in, so you can see we have the Debian version, the MX version, the support version, desktops. This is running XFCE 4.16 out of the gate. I'm going to go ahead and back out of that. You see that that just opened up that About tab. So we're going to open our tool thing back up. We have Codex Installer, which is nice. That's one of the things you're probably going to want to do when you first install Linux. Welcome screen, system sound, time and date, conky, just anything you'd expect to be able to go ahead and easily modify is very nicely laid out here for you. Quick system info, format USB, and you have the iDevice mounter. What the iDevice mounter is another cool tool. I don't really have an iPhone with me to go ahead and demonstrate this, but this is their own MX tool that makes it really easy to mount your iPhone to pull pictures and other things out of it. So that is a very handy tool if you are an iPhone user. But if you go right here, we have the tweak tool. You could access it through here or access it through searching through your menu. But if we go ahead and open that up, you can see our MX tweak tool. So here we have our effects panel. We have it set vertically, so you could go ahead and change this if you'd like to, or you could display it horizontally. So if I applied this, we can throw our bar on the bottom there. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and keep it as the default. So you do have some really easy ways to go ahead and change some of your XFCE settings through here, as well as your themes, your compositors. So you can see we're using the XFCE compositor. You have some quick options for your display settings. I am currently at 1080p, some config options, and right here, this is a new thing, is the password for administrative tasks. This is a new feature in this beta. You can set this to user or root. So you saw that password come up when I tried to open up the boot settings. That is one way to enable or disable that. And here you have quick access to certain XFCE settings such as your panel, window manager, and appearance. For example, if I click appearance, you can see I have my style, icons, fonts, and general settings. So with that said, let's go ahead and check out some of the applications that are installed on this by default. So let's go ahead and close out all of this and then go up here to our, oh, not that one. Where's our actual start menu in this? Is there, let's see. Oh, it's that right there. And then go down over here to the start menu. Here you can see it's your standard XFCE start menu. But if I go under all applications, actually, let's do this by category. But if I go under to accessories and all these categories here, we can kind of see what's on our system. Being that this is XFCE, they are going to have a lot of these standard XFCE applications. But we also have bulk rename, and I'm pretty sure that's a Linux Mint application, not 100% sure on that. We have some of the conky stuff. We have G-Calculator, the iDevice monitor. It's a GUI for monitoring, for mounting and unmounting your iPhone, not monitoring, sorry. It looks like Midnight Commander is installed by default, so that is a wonderful terminal-based file manager. If we go under developer, we have the icon browser and Genie. For games, nothing too much, just some small little mini games here. Under graphics, we have GThumb document scanner. They don't have GIMP or anything like that, but it looks like they do have a little paint utility, so that's pretty cool. If we go under, oh, I should have zoomed in a while ago. Oh, well, it's okay. I can cut this. That's what I'll do. If we go under internet, we can see we have Firefox, we have GNOME. They have a dial-up tool. If we go under internet, we can see they have Firefox, a dial-up tool. So apparently somebody needs that. Thunderbird and transmission. Other than the dial-up thing, all pretty good utilities. Under multimedia, they have VLC. I wish they would have went with MPV, but that's just my personal preference. Additionally, they have some CD, DVD rippers, Xburn, Cameroid, so webcam utilities. Under MX tools, you saw all of these, but this is all the custom MX solutions we have, including a NVIDIA driver installer, so that's pretty nice if you do have a NVIDIA device in your system. Quick system info, we saw all this within that panel. Under Office, they have the LibreOffice suite, including Full Light, which is to read ebooks. And then you have your standard settings, including built-in ad blocks and things like that. And then we have our System tab, which will include some of those things, such as the Disk Usage Analyzer, HTOP, and things like that. And I haven't really opened up anything, so let's go ahead and pop open HTOP to see what's going on. It looks like we're only using 552 megabytes of system memory out of the gate, which it's pretty good. For XFCE, it's actually normal, but compared to a lot of systems, this is very nice. And with that, the CPU usage at idle is fairly low. You see it's jumping in between 0 and 2%, which again is normal. 107 tasks running in the background. Let's go ahead and I could have just hit F10 or something, but let's go ahead and open up a terminal emulator. And let's use this to type in NeoFetch. You can see right here they have some custom bash scripting, so that's nice. So NeoFetch, let's see if it's installed out of the gate. Which it is. You can see they didn't try to replace their own thing right here. They're just using Debian because this is just a ultimately an XFCE front for Debian with a whole bunch of tools added. But this is running XFCE 4.16. With the dang it. With the XFWM4 window manager, the kernel with this is 5.10, which is what is going to ship with this version of Debian. You can see right here the OS is Debian GNU/Linux 11. So they're not really hiding the fact that it's Debian at all, that a lot of Linux distributions do, or whatever they're forking off of. They're saying this is ultimately Debian. Is there anything else I should cover? I don't think so. I think that is really about it. So I'm going to end this off right here. I'm going to do my outro and all that, but don't leave because I'm just doing the outro for the video. Okay, 3, 2. So we're going to go ahead and close this out, and that really is MX Linux. It's a great system. It's a great way to get into Debian, especially if you're new to Linux and you want a quick, high-performing system that you could really throw on almost any computer out there. I think this is, I'm not sure if it's going to have 32-bit support. I won't say that. So like I said earlier, this is the first beta release. They could come out with more features. They could change some things up. So if there's any major changes, I will definitely go ahead and announce that. But for now, this is what we expect out of this new... Man, I'm gonna restart. I keep pausing. You guys get to see all my errors live. There is a 32-bit version. Yeah, that's what I was that's exactly what I was thinking. 3, 2. So with all that said, I am really looking forward to this release of MX Linux. It is definitely one of the best fronts, or one of the best ways to get into Debian, especially if you're running a system that's a little bit older, low spec. If you have like 2 gigs of RAM, this is probably what I would end up putting on that system. But even if you have a high performing system, this is a great option to get into Linux, to get into Debian. Just to get a feel for that, especially with all the different tools and settings that they offer you out of the gate. It's really nice, and like I said, this is a beta, so there might be some big changes, there might be things that are added, removed. If there's anything too major, I'll go ahead and post it down in the comments and pin it. So if anything's inaccurate in this video, I will definitely mention that down below. With all that said, thank you to my Patreon supporters as well as YouTube members. You guys are awesome. Thank you to Dominique, who is a producer level supporter over on Patreon. If you're interested in supporting Tech Hut, there'll be links to both Patreon, or you could go ahead and just click the join button on YouTube, which that will give you some extra like emojis and things like that to go ahead and use in live streams or comments, things like that. Links to all that down below. If you did like this video, make sure you subscribe and ring that bell. There'll be a link to the article that go at There will be a link down below as well to the article that goes over the beta release for MX Linux 21. So if you're interested in downloading it, trying it out, that will be down below. With all that said, I do hope you all have a beautiful day, and goodbye. Sweet deal. So stop recording, and that is how I record videos. That was the overview of MX Linux. It's hot in here because I turned off all the fans. It is looking like a great system. I mean, I love MX Linux. It's we go down here, we have computer, the mounter. It's XFCE, but it's XFCE done right. Okay, so let's go ahead and close this out. Power off the machine. Okay. All right. So we are done with that. So now what I need to do is get some of these files here. So I believe this is, so I'm going to go ahead and name these properly just so I kind of know what I'm dealing with. So this is 1, install. This is 2, installed. And this is 3, overview. Just like that. So let's go ahead and let's go ahead, Control X, go into our videos and paste these in here. So MX Linux and paste. What distro are you using right now? I am currently using Fedora 34, and it's not bad. I don't like GNOME. Are you running 2 OBS installs? No. This is my OBS right here, and I'm streaming, so it says stop streaming here, which I will not do. But if I hit start recording, it will, I'll show you. So start recording. Hello everybody, this is Tech Hut. Stop recording. So you could actually record while you're live streaming and have it as a separate recording. So now if I go over here and go to home, you all can see this. Hello everybody, this is Tech Hut. See, OBS is super cool. How'd you rename the file so quickly? F2 is how you do it. Did I put that in the right place? I wasn't paying attention. MX Linux. Okay, cool, they're in there. Yeah, but wouldn't that show your stream overlays? That's why when I was recording, it looked like this. The virtual machine isn't up anymore, but when I was recording, I was in this screen, so it doesn't show any of the overlays. So if I go back to stream, there we go. Because this is what I just recorded while I was talking to you guys. And this is their scanner. They don't have GIMP or anything like that, but it looks like they do have a little paint utility, so that's pretty cool. So that was just recorded while live streaming. So now what we could do is we could go into Kdenlive and throw those in there. And I'm not going to edit everything. The stream is getting a little long. We're about 1.5 hours, which is how long I usually record. So we have installed, and overview. So even without any edits, this video is going to be roughly 25 minutes. This is going to be a long one. So after editing, this is probably going to be like a 20-minute video. So timestamps are definitely going to be an important aspect. I'm going to go ahead and save that. I'm not going to make you guys struggle through the process of me editing this one. I use a plugin called Source Record, but this way also works. Thanks for explaining. Yeah, if I wanted the overlays while I'm recording, it's not something I usually do. I just thought it would be fun to kind of stream while I record so you guys can kind of see the process. But yeah, I just go ahead and disable those, so it's just boom, and then I would be recording without overlays, because really my only overlay is the chat right there. I have a couple others, but I don't really use them. Like my music one disappeared. Oh, I closed Spotify, that's why. But yeah, so I'm basically going to wrap up this stream. So if anybody has any comments or questions or anything you would like me to bring up or mention, please leave them down in the chat and I will make sure I answer it. Other than that, my fiance has prepared a wonderful lunch, so I will be going and having that. How's Gnome going? It is not going. I do not like Gnome. I'm very excited for this review to be over. I almost gave in and made it a 2-week review instead of a 1-month review, but I'll stick it out. I'll hold out for the whole month. I hate Gnome. Fedora is awesome. Like the Fedora KDE spin is probably magnificent because I like DNF. Performance-wise, it's one of the better performing Linux distributions I've used, especially little things I notice in like Kdenlive, for example. But I hate GNOME with a passion. Just little things like if I get a file or something and I try to drag it and I hit it wrong. So like even this intro, if it's not doing it now. Maybe if I try to drag something from one monitor to the other, sometimes it does this, and that's annoying. But ultimately, I'm not a fan. Going to try out every DE or going back to KDE. I'm not sure what distribution I'm going to be reviewing next, but when I do distribution reviews, I like to go with whatever the default is. So, for example, like the Solus video, I used Budgie for like 2 weeks or a month, and that was a pretty decent experience. I like MX Linux. That's what we kind of checked out today. So I could even use XFCE and have a good time. I just don't like GNOME. I like the traditional kind of layout of either KDE Plasma, XFCE, things like that. I do some modifications to KDE Plasma to kind of modernize it a little bit, but I don't know. I really like KDE. I really like EndeavourOS with KDE Plasma, with PAMAC installed, and a couple other things. Nemo I use a lot while I'm in KDE Plasma. I think it's Dominique. Yeah, Dominique and his Farron OS uses Nemo as the default file manager. But did I accidentally say? Hold on. Who's my Patreon supporter? I think I accidentally said the wrong name now that I'm thinking about it. Let's see. It'd be under documents. There it is. Mitchell. Oh man, I said Dominique, I think. It's okay. I'll fix that. Do you like Pantheon Mac OS DE? You called the Patreon me. Good job. Yeah, I'll re-record my outro. Do not fret. I'll re-record that. It's my very first time I'm actually saying the Patreon kind of plug thing at the end of the video, so I need to get used to that, because this guy right here, he's the producer, and then we have some Techie Plus and Techies, which is cool. So I do thank you all, whoever is Patreon and YouTube members. You guys mean the world. If any of you happen to be here in chat, thank you. I will need to re-record my outro, but I'll do that. It's about 3 p.m., so this video is probably going to be out about 6 p.m., so 3-4 hours-ish, and we will have the MX video live. So do be looking forward to that. With that said, pinned above is a link to the Tech Hut Discord. If you guys are interested in joining that, I'm usually in there. There's a lot of people in there. Dominique's in there off and on. And you could go ahead and join his Farron Discord as well if you're interested in Farron OS. With all that said, I do hope you all have an absolutely beautiful day. If you are new to Tech Hut, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. I upload a lot of good Linux stuff, a lot of good general tech things. My last video was on the Pixel announcement, so I do things like that periodically. Yeah, I'm going to be wrapping this up. With all that said, I do hope you have a beautiful day, and good